It is with great pride that I would like to present to you the best of the best from Pakistan. We're talking about financial inclusion. We've got some outstanding leaders of the banking community here. In fact, 3 presidents among them. And I'm going to not take away the moderator's role of introducing them. But I will say this to you, that everything you hear about Pakistan is not true. Yes, we are in dire economic straits, but for much, much better than other countries. After all, a growth rate of 6% is not bad when you are projected 4 to 4.5%. Every sector of the economy has made windfall profits. Every sector, right? And the gross profit in some cases has been out of this world. But there have been challenges. Bad economic management in the sense of allowing imported goods, luxury goods that we should not have allowed. The result that all the foreign exchange reserves were eaten up. Then having to pay debt, let's say installments on loans taken earlier. But I think the worst was that we could not manage the prices which the farmer got and he was happy with, but the prices that were at the market side. There's a huge gap. The middleman has really taken us for hearth and home. And I think that could have been managed better. But all in all, we have full function here. We have another 2 events today here in the Pakistan Pavilion. We have an event tomorrow. And this, in fact, for those who have nothing are all invited to the Sean Salt for the presentation by the Sindh Investment Board with the Chief Minister is going to be the chief guest. But he has sent word that his name should be taken off as chief guest because the Foreign Minister, Mr. Bilawal Zardari, has also said that he is going to come to the lunch. And thereafter, then we have a traditional Pakistan breakfast, which is the 18th version of its own, which we've had for 18 years now. And I'm proud to say one thing. People have offered us finances, people who just support. The moral support has been outstanding. And some of the gentlemen are here and I acknowledge that. Outstanding. It is so encouraging that, you cannot quantify it in money form. You have to accept it. I'm also very grateful to a fellow director of mine of now East West Institute, Zohar Kurt. She came from Turkey with the thing, and I'm grateful to you, Zohar, for being here. Right? And of course, my long-suffering family, which I call my traveling harem, 5 sisters-in-law. Right? So, and also, I must tell you, not to forget the amount of work put in by the executives and people of my group. Outstanding. I mean, I would like to see CEOs of companies putting up posters here, moving chairs around. Ali Shah and Salman and Tasawwur, they did that. And of course, I cannot forget the operation person, the CEO of Wackenhut, Jahangir, whose work actually like that, and in fact, I was happy to know that the presidents of banks were dealing with him, saying, no, we'll talk to Jahangir, you don't worry about it. Which is good, and therefore, and not only that, the support staff that has come with us from their thing, and I gave an incentive thing to some of the people who produce something that is really a miracle. That is a Asan mobile account. They produced a VRG switch, which basically led by Ali Shah And we've at the moment got 16 banks on board and 4 telcos on board. And we had a lot of skepticism in the beginning. And I remember going to people, but I didn't have the chance to go to Zafar Masud Sahab, but because they're not just on the way to getting digital. But Shazad and Kabeer, Naqvi, they literally had to bully their staff. It's a good thing. Let's work on it. And I acknowledge that, and that level that you took that thing, etc. So I wanted to give them a little sort of an incentive. So I brought about a dozen of them to Davos. Junior people, they've never been abroad in their whole lives, but they've come now. And they have, not only that, they've come, but they're enjoying it. And after Davos, they're going to go to, actually to Germany, to France, to Belgium, and to Netherlands before flying back to Turkey, where Zohal is promising to make their life miserable by making them work. There. But anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. And without further ado, I will give it to Alisha. Please, you take over. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alisha. I basically lead one of the best software companies in the world with my very young team. I'm the oldest in the Brat Pack. And we basically work on financial and healthcare solutions. So today, the topic that we're going to talk today is really close to my heart. I've invested nearly a decade of my life on it. That is financial inclusion, poor man's banking, giving the people the hope to survive, to get access to finance, to change their lives. And very fortunately, we have a very power-packed panel over here today. I'd like to introduce each one of, I'd like to introduce them first. So our keynote speaker today is Mr. Zafar Masud. He's the CEO of Bank of Punjab. He's a seasoned banker and entrepreneur with over 27 years of experience in banking, entrepreneurship, development finance, and corporate governance. In his current role at the Bank of Punjab, he's responsible for a network of 636 regular and 104 Islamic banking branches. He's also spearheading a strategic transformation drive to steer BOP towards becoming a digitally able financial institution. He's been recently appointed as the Chairman, Board of Directors of Oil and Gas Development Company Limited, OGDCL. Mr. Masud has previously served in senior positions at multinational banks within and outside Pakistan. So, welcome aboard. Then we have Mr. Shazad Dada. He is the President and Chief Executive Officer of UBL, United Bank Limited. He's one of the most prominent bankers in Pakistan with over 30 years of diversified banking experience, both in the United States and Pakistan. So, he basically brings in his exposure from both continents. Mr. Shazad Dada started his career with Deutsche Bank in New York, where he worked for over 15 years as the managing director in the Mergers, Acquisition and Corporate Advisory Group. Mr. Dada then moved to Pakistan as the managing director of Deutsche Bank Pakistan, since he has been the CEO and managing director of Barclays Pakistan and the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank Pakistan as well, and part of their African and Middle Eastern regional team. Mr. Shazad took over the role of President of CEO of UBL in July 2020. Under his leadership, UBL became the most profitable private bank in Pakistan. UBL is also widely regarded as the market leader in innovation and has consistently won the best digital bank industry awards, both in Pakistan and internationally. So welcome aboard. After him, we're joined by Mr. Kabeer Naqvi. He's the President and CEO of U Microfinance Bank. Mr. Naqvi has been with U Microfinance Bank since September 2015 and has been instrumental in the turnaround of the bank. He has more than 21 years of work experience to his name and continues to lead U Bank with his vigor, drive, and vision. His experience entails building teams and structures from ground up, setting up new businesses with keen focus on bottom lines, and establishing partnerships to take mission forward. Mr. Naqvi represents a new breed of bankers who have managed to push the evolution in banking while staying true to the spirit of serving the underserved and excluded population of the country. Previously, he has served as the Chief of Staff and Chief of Financial Officer at Tamir Microfinance Bank, currently Telenor Microfinance Bank, where his career spanned over 9 years. He has had extensive work experience in external and internal audit, corporate finance, and taxation, and has served at Ernst & Young, Saudi Arabia, TPL Pakistan, and House of Abi. Kabeer is also a fellow member of the ACCA. Then we have Mr. Asif Riaz, who is the Group Head Retail and Priority Sector Lending of Bank of Punjab. We're also joined by Mr. Salman Ali, CEO of VRG, the State Bank, a dual regulated fintech, both by the State Bank of Pakistan and the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, and the custodian of the Asan mobile account. Then we have Mr. Aftab Rizvi from Risk Associates. He's an internationally renowned information security consultant and entrepreneur with more than 25 years of experience. Has been heavily involved in the compliance of the e-commerce industry since its establishment and is considered as one of the world leaders in information security audits and compliance. He has vast experience in reviewing and implementing compliance programs in various industry verticals, currently focused on information security compliance programs related to payment systems, healthcare, GDPR. Then we have Mr. Muzzaffar Hayat Piracha. He's the CEO of Airlink. Mr. Hayat leads Airlink, which is the biggest manufacturer of smartphones in Pakistan, having manufacturing facility of leading global brands, that is Xiaomi, Tecno, Itel, and TCL. Airlink is also the largest mobile phone distributor in Pakistan, having brands like Samsung, Xiaomi, Huawei, Tecno, Itel, and Realme, as the authorized, and was also the authorized reseller for Apple devices. Airlink is the only listed company in this sector, having conducted the largest private sector IPO in the history of Pakistan. With him, we have Mr. Imad Chishti. He's the CEO of Futafut. Imad has over 24 years of experience working with large consultancies, banks, telecoms, and startups within Pakistan and outside. Imad was the project manager for Rizvi, responsible for the launch. Lately, Imad managed the 30 million euro digitalization program funded by Mastercard for a German group for digitalizing microfinance in Africa. Currently, Imad is the CEO of Futafut, a B2B2C service digitalizing and uplifting MSMEs through digital presence and digital payments. A very warm welcome to all of you gentlemen. We would actually like to move forward to our keynote of the day on financial inclusion and digital banking, which would be delivered by Mr. Zafar Masud. He's the CEO, President of Bank of Punjab.
So before I kind of commence with my formal presentation, I must like to thank and acknowledge Pathfinder and Martin Dow Group for inviting us to Davos, and to the organizers of today's event, which is Karachi Council for Foreign Relations and Swiss Asian Chamber of Commerce. But I think it's very important to thank on behalf of our country and personally myself to Ikram Sehgal Sahab. He's been, I see this as a public service. It's a patriotic, really it's a patriotic move, and Ikram Sahab has been doing this for the last 30 years, spending his own money and efforts. I have seen firsthand myself the way his team has worked in organizing this massive event. And really, Ikram Sahab, all kudos to you and your team for doing this for Pakistan. Now, of course, the topic of today is something which is topical, which is close to the hearts of almost everybody, touches them one way or the other, directly or indirectly. But the fact of the matter is that the true financial inclusion without functional deployment of digital solution is almost impossible, given its inherent cost-saving features and also the commonality that it brings to the table. However, there are challenges in Pakistan about increased formalization of the economy, which then leads to the easy access to affordable credit, savings and insurance products, and far-reaching effect on the economic growth, stability, and prosperity. But notwithstanding, certain issues still persist. Effectively identifying and addressing these issues work better for the public. Pakistan has immense potential. Great strides have been made in the domain of financial inclusion in the country. In my keynote address today, I'll try and showcase what advancements have been done, what are the headwinds, and what is really stored in there for the future as far as the banking overall globally is concerned, but particularly in Pakistan, and what is Bank of Punjab doing about it, which one of the chief banks taken a lead on digitization. So a little introduction on the country and its demographics. Pakistan surely is on the development journey. The country overall, not just the government itself, but the entire ecosystem, I would say, is fully committed to national and global development goals, including the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which, one way or the other touches in what I talk about later in the presentation. Pakistan is the 5th most populous country in the world, with most of the population resides in rural areas, which is 63%. Now that's very important to highlight because that then gives the opportunity for more digital initiatives to be taken on board for better accessibility and financial inclusion. Interestingly enough, Pakistan's 61% of the population is between 15 years and 54 years, which is the right bankable population to begin with. But then there is another big opportunity. The 35%, which is the second largest bracket, is below 15 years. And these are the people which are ready for the tomorrow's banking. There are challenges which I talk about later, but in terms of Pakistan as an investment opportunity, and most of you that I have met are keen to look at it from that perspective as well. So I try and capture some key features there. So the ease of doing business has improved 28 points between 2019 and 2020. And that only happened because of the timely and prudent, sort of policy measures that the government took. We remain, by virtue of which we remain the #1 reformer in South Asia. Really a proud moment for all of us. And the key industries that, that one could look for investments in Pakistan right now, and particularly the place that I'm sitting, there are certain direct relevance to that place as well, is foodstuffs to start with. And then we're talking about textiles, which Ikram Saab also mentioned. We're talking about housing and construction. And then, of course, another related business to Switzerland, for example, is the tourism and logistics. And most recently, by the way, which is most relevant to the topic today, is information technology and digitization. So now let's look at the payment and banking infrastructure that is out there. We have a pretty robust banking and payment infrastructure available. The mobile wallet penetration in Pakistan has been a success story, really. Mobile banking, internet banking, and e-commerce have undergone massive growth rates of 119%, 58%, and 225% in the recent times. The digital financial services gives a huge opportunity for a large bankable population, which I just talked about earlier. Being a nascent market, opportunities are enormous. Credit-related products offering market are starved in Pakistan in terms of inclusion. Now, taking this forward, the discussion on inclusion, let me just give you a sense of the unique context of Pakistan with respect to financial inclusion. I'll try and cover in this section the expose of some of the barriers, but most significantly, the headway that have been achieved so far in this domain. So some of the main factors and the barrier for financial inclusion has been the high rates of economic informality. And when we talk about lending products also, then the high interest rates also play a major role in terms of discouraging people to come into the formal sector. Because the difference between the formal financial sector and the informal financial sector sort of squeezes. And that leads into a high prevalence of cash-based transactions. The low penetration of banking network is another major reason. Although we are now in day and age and talking about moving away from the physical infrastructure, but nevertheless, the country like Pakistan, I think the physical infrastructure is still important until we reach an optimal level there. We seem to be far away from it. And I know Kabeer shared these thoughts with me. So if you look at the global average of branch per 100,000 adults, it's around 11 bank branches. In our case, it's 10, so we're slightly lower there. But the most significant one is that, Bangladesh, for example, is in one notch lower than us at 9, but they have much better advancement on the technology front, and hence their requirement perhaps are not as significant as ours. We are surely lagging behind in the region against countries like India, Sri Lanka, and of course the Middle East as well. The high disparity in the branches is also a reason why the rural banking, the rural areas are still excluded. And that's a major cause of concern. But for me, the biggest cause of concern is the fact that, the women participation, which is 51% of our total population, is almost non-existent. Last number I saw, it was 17% of financial inclusion, which is dismal. But that certainly needs to be enhanced, and we'll talk about it later, how the role that the banking sector in general and the Bank of Punjab has played in bring them into main folds. So the pillars of the core pillars for financial inclusion rests on the National Financial Inclusion Strategy that was rolled out by the central bank in consultation with the other stakeholders in the country in 2015. And the objective was to achieving universal financial inclusion centered around leveraging mobile wallets and easy accounts, increasing access points, and implementation of national payment gateways. And a major role is being played by Ali's team, Ikram Saab's group here as well, which enables the businesses to receive, manage remittances, both foreign and local, in real time. Capacity building of the banks, which is another very important factor. But more important than that is raising financial awareness amongst the masses. And then it leads into another very important area, which from a regulatory standpoint is particularly more important. And with increasing, increasing penetration of the digital channels, the fair treatment of the customer and financial literacy becomes very important. And that extends the outreach of financial products and services, which is the eventual objective. On the regulatory front, the prudent and timely regulatory interventions by the central bank has resulted in some very massive support for people like ourselves to work on financial inclusion and take it to the next level. The key ones being in 2014, the central bank developed and adopted the framework for consumer protection and financial literacy. In 2020, the landmark banking on equality policy was introduced, which is primarily centered around women-friendly businesses and practices in financial sector. And last but not the least, the real revolution one is last year only in 2021, is the introduction of RAST. It's the first ever end-to-end digital payment system, which we think will play a key role in terms of taking this whole initiative to the next level. Key enablers and partners in this journey with us have been the Citizen Identity Management Authority, which is called NADRA, National Database Registration Authority. On the telecom infrastructure side, it's the PTA, the regulator of telecom industry, Pakistan Telecom Authority. On tax governance authorities, this is a very important element in Pakistan, offering ease of documentation and trust building. And of course, the revolutionary steps of interoperability of USSD via initiatives like VRG cover the maximum outreach. And tax authorities are also putting certain incentives on the table to promote digitization of the economy. So digital banks building blocks, there are essentially 4 building blocks. One are the omni-channel banking experience. The second one is the speed. The third one is developing an ecosystem which is open banking. And last but not the least is the data-driven contextual banking. And the whole concept of the digital banking is curated an advanced and unique value proposition. Fastest implementation have been achieved because we have been behind in our digitization journey, especially from the banks like UBL. But we are catching up fast, and the fastest implementation was achieved on the digital banking software, not just in Pakistan, but the entire Middle East and North Africa. We have already introduced omni-channel. That's the next one. We've already introduced the omni-channel experience through our digital offering called DigiBob. And you can see those digital, omni-channel experiences being displayed there. On financial inclusion across all demographics, it captures our values. The Bank of Punjab is really proud to have the values like empathy, tolerance, diversity, and inclusion. And we truly take this to our heart, and our motto is Har Fard Ka Khayal, which in English means care for all individuals. And in this journey, I must acknowledge our relationship and alliance with Pathfinder Group. Saigal Sal was very generous in terms of acknowledging our efforts, but really it was the effort of Saigal Saab and his team that we have talked about a great potential for collaboration in the future, and particularly in the domain of agriculture and financial services. BOP's financial inclusion impact. Now, for any initiative to be gauged for its essence, the assessment of their impact is absolutely key. And we in Bank of Punjab take it very seriously. And I'll just demonstrate with you on how we have achieved that. There are primarily 4 main inclusion points, I would say, that we are capturing here, starting from social inclusion, whereby we have collaborated with the Punjab Social Protection Authority and designed and executed social protection initiatives, offering the unique products which nobody else in the market are offering right now. Starting from Khidmat Card, to whereby we are offering unconditional cash transfer program for persons with disabilities. We have around 95,000 registered beneficiaries there. The second one is Zevar-e-Taaleem. It's an unconditional cash transfer initiative for young girls going to school, whereby we have over 600,000 girls registered. Then we have Bahimmat Buzurg, which is again an unconditional cash transfer program, which is sort of a dignified social pension to elderly women. Over 74,000 registered female beneficiaries are there. And by the way, this is all digitally made payment. There is no physical payment which is done. It is all done through the wallets. Then there is a recently launched program called Ahosh program, which is health and nutrition program, encouraging the underprivileged women to utilize health and nutrition services during the first 1,000 days life cycle of the child. We have 2,000 plus pregnant women registered in this program. The most recently that we've launched is a program for transgender called Musawat program, whereby unconditional cash transfers are done to elderly and disabled transgender persons. The last, something very close to my heart, is Silai Fund. It's artist support program, whereby unconditional cash transfer is done to the elderly artists who have been in this, serving the country for over 25 years. And we have 1,500 female beneficiaries in this program. It is not confined to the female alone, but I'm just quoting the number for female here. We are very proud to execute with the government of Punjab was on the entrepreneurship initiative, whereby we established the self-sustaining revenue stream, leasing locally manufactured vehicles, started transportation businesses of their own. Creation of 70,000 jobs, particularly women, and disbursement of 41 billion to date. A glimpse of clear roadmap. Observers, this audience, which observes this audience and our customers, we look forward to the future of digitization in the Bank of Punjab. We call it the next generation banking. So for these 4 inclusion pieces that we talked about, I would like to share some testimonials with you, which really resonates well with our tagline, which is Har Fard Ka Khayal, banking for everyone, which you will see the impact of all those financial inclusion initiatives that we've taken so far. So we're talking about metaverse space and setting up a BOP Sky branch there. So I was just looking at this morning, JP Morgan has taken some initiative on that front. There is Standard Chartered also evaluating. But we, as an institution in Pakistan, taking a lead on a serious digital revolution, we thought it's important to explore that space as well and see how we can add value. So a slight demonstration of how we are pursuing it is right there. BOP closer to becoming a future-ready digital challenger bank. DigiBop at Metaverse will enable us to reach a new set of customers and stakeholders in a revolutionary and exciting way. Virtual reality and Web 3.0 are the upcoming third generation of internet, unveiling a whole new experience of touching true emotions and influencing customer behavior in a very natural, real-life way. It is not just a marketing hype or a buzzword. It will be a reality and the next big thing in banking to adopt and experience. We will soon welcome you to the future-ready state of the Bank of Punjab DigiBop Sky branch at Metaverse. Stay tuned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
It was very encouraging to actually see these financial institutions work on financial inclusion, because I think hope is the biggest gift one can give to someone who's vulnerable. We've built an IMPS, we've built the infrastructure, we are driving initiatives. There are a lot of schemes which financial institutions are coming out, remote account opening, level 0 accounts, easing KYC, you can virtually use Assam mobile account, dial a short code from here and open a bank account in under 2 minutes. Your KYC, your all compliances, all screening, listing are all complete. But let's talk about the people who would be using this platform. So, we know as Pakistan, the target market that we're talking about is basically less formally educated, less tech savvy. So my question to you, Shazad, is how do you look at driving financial institution in such financial services in an environment where people are less tech savvy, and what could be done over here?
This is it's a real pleasure for me and UBL to be representing in this August gathering and this forum. And Ikram Saab and Pathfinder, along with Martin Dow, thank you for inviting us and giving us this opportunity. And again, this goes beyond just talking about financial inclusion. digital transformation. I think what we are also trying to do is take away the myth that's been created about Pakistan, talk about what's happening. And in Pakistan, a lot is happening. Hopefully in the next half an hour, 1 hour through Q&A, and over the course of the next couple of days, we can really demonstrate, different colleagues of mine and different Pakistanis who have come here, demonstrate to you that there's a lot going on, and it's really a missed opportunity if you are not in this country where there's so much going on. Today, I want to stick to the topic, and to your question, I'll come to it in 1 second. But it's a country that's going very fast. It's a country there's a lot happening. And just to echo one number that Ikram Saab was also talking about, last year, Karachi Stock Exchange, 100 top companies in Pakistan Stock Exchange, this does not include private companies, and there are a lot of private companies that are not listed, made net profit of 1 trillion rupees approximately. Now that's a very big number. Historic highs, including UBL, we had the best year in our history. So there's a lot of money being made, a lot is going on. There's a very conducive environment for people who are willing to come there, invest their capital, and take risk. However, what you hear in different newspapers or different news channels is a different story. And I can attest from my own personal experience, having worked both in the international markets and in Pakistan. Secondly, I think in terms of, look, all the things that Zafar talked about, amazing work Zafar and his team are doing, and I'm really proud of that. The things that BOP is doing, and obviously there are things that we are doing, there's some duplication, and there's some things we are going to learn from him and he's going to learn from us. But the point is, there's so much going on in this space, and we have all realized that to bring financial, why are we talking about financial inclusion? There's a lot of research out there. I don't need to quote to this this group of people. I think if we want to eliminate financial inequality, we need to bring people into the financial net. And I think we've all realized that if we do the old-fashioned way, we are not going to be able to do it in the time period required. And we have seen technology as a big friend, and if we really use it effectively, we can really shortcut and really short-circuit the time to get this gap minimized. And this gap is there. Today, again, there are lots of numbers. I can throw a lot of numbers. I'm a banker all my life. But 20% of our population is financially included. I mean, that number is still very low. Zafar talked about the branches per 100,000 people. In Pakistan, it's around 10. In Asia, the number is around 16. So again, we are very low. If we try to do the brick and mortar way, we are not going to get there in due course. Even on our payment side, even on the branches side. So we really need to use, and we have seen this in our own experience. And today there are around 50 to 70 million people still who can be brought into this universe if we do it right. And that comes to your question to me, how are we going to do it? Again, our experience has been that it's really, I think we're in the second phase of our digital revolution. We have done the first phase, a lot of things Zafar talked about, showed the thing, and we are going into the second phase, and perhaps there will be a third and a fourth revolution that's going to come. In the second phase, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is there's a lot of growth happening, and we have all the key foundations that will help us get there. The first one is, if you just look at the population, and the population is around 220 million people. If you look at the amount of tele-density, 192 million, or around 85% of our population has access. If you look at the internet penetration, 72 million, which is around 32%. So all these numbers are there, which tell you that there is clearly room to grow and room to do. But again, I think some numbers to tell you what the growth is and why we are just not talking about it. Telcos grew. The number of subscribers last year was 10 million subscribers that came online. That's 5% versus 3%, which is the global average. And by the way, that number in 5 years has been 50 million, which is the size of the entire Spain population. And lastly, the cost to serve is become very accessible and easy to do. Just on my ride here, I was with Muzzaffar Piracha, who's going to give some comments. But he runs the largest telco mobile set manufacturing business in Pakistan. For 8,000 rupees, which is $40, you can have a a mobile set that allows you to do all sorts of mobile banking on it. And I think we envisioning that in 2017, UBL was the first bank to come up with an innovation lab. And I welcome any one of you virtually or physically come to Pakistan and or electronically and come and see what we do. We can take any challenge, any service, any product, and we run it through our design lab, where we really take a lot of pain upfront trying to understand what is the objective of the provider and what are we trying to do it and how do we do it keeping in mind the audience and do it obviously in the most efficient, cost-effective manner. And alhamdulillah, it's worked out brilliantly for us. We have launched number of firsts in Pakistan. Our app is one of the best, if not not just in Pakistan, but in the region. We've won multiple awards. If you haven't, please go to ubl.com and UBL Digital.
My question to you would be, how do you see the role of digital banking in financial inclusion? We've seen on the West, on the Western Hemisphere that, digital banks really do play out very well for alternative payments for the bank population, providing them more payment options. But how do you look at it from an unbanked perspective?
Thank you, Ali. I would like to introduce what we do. You bank as a bank, we are a bank, but we are a bank for the unbanked. That's what we do for a living, all of us. And when you look at Pakistan, a country of 220 million people, and when we say only 80% are banked, we're talking about bank accounts. And having a bank account and calling them bank is one thing, but the real change, in our view, comes from providing credit and creating an impact in their productivity and income levels and graduating them. The excluded part I'm talking about. A bit about UBank. We are a very interesting organization whereby, because of our parentage, we are owned by PTCL, which is the national telecom, and we have a sister concern by the name Ufone, which is a GSM arm of the group. So there are 3 companies in total operating in Pakistan. PTCL has about 3 million clients, Ufone has about 24 million clients, and UBank credit clients are close to 500,000 and about 2 million deposit clients, including mobile wallets, obviously. Now, when we talk about financial inclusion, we feel, and I personally feel as a practitioner, you have to talk about social inclusion before you talk about financial inclusion. Because when you travel the length and breadth of Pakistan, you leave Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, 50, 100 kilometers out, it's a different world. And my team and I take the suit out, I wear the shalwar kameez and I go. We do about 5,000-6,000 road miles every quarter. Meet our staff, the clients, and that is where you get perspective. When you see malnutrition with your own eyes, when you see lack of opportunity with your own eyes, then it changes you. And then your vision obviously transforms. When we started off with UBank, we were also for shareholder wealth maximization, very commercial. When you talk about the client, I'll share an anecdote with you. We were talking to a client, one of the farmers that we're serving, and we do a lot of work in financial literacy and digital literacy out there in our branches, that part of our core. And we said, what if we transferred you onto an app and you were to apply for your next loan through the app, and that guy obviously in Punjabi, spoke and said, would you expect me to go through the smartphone, go to maybe say Apple Store, download an app and apply for a loan, and through a scoring model, I'll get a loan in my mobile phone and life is good, where the ecosystem down below is all cash-based, as my colleagues also spoke about. So yes, that's the eventual aim, absolutely. That's where we ought to go. But we feel as practitioners that Pakistan, yes, we want to leapfrog in many areas also. It's the reality that it's need of the hour. Brick and mortar will take a long time. But what UBank is doing, we are creating these, if you may call it, so something sort of an oasis in the desert, a branch, a fully functional branch, where 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, nobody's out there. And people from different villages, excluded districts come in, and they learn financial literacy, they learn social literacy, and through the branches, what we're trying to change their experience and graduating them. We are collecting loans digitally, information through a tab. We are working on AI bot for rule-based approval, because in our area, there is no cash flow formal. There is no bank statement. There is nothing. There's no financial statements, because we work on income proxies. That's very, very different, because these people are working in the cash economy. So in the wake of these new licenses coming in, what we've done is that we are upgrading our UPESA proposition, which is an MFS proposition with a mobile app and USSD, to a full menu banking service via digital channels. And to top it up, what we've done is that we have added an Islamic variant to it. We are the only microfinance bank who's taking Islamic banking nationwide. The problem in the past has been that the Islamic banks are commercial banks. On the asset side, they're sukuks and they're limited. With us, it is very different. Our asset is in the rural, so we are creating Islamic-based asset products in the rural Pakistan, which is the first of its kind, and we are getting phenomenal response. As far as deciding what product to offer to whom, I think a lot more has to be done by the industry to understand the client better. You know, because as I told you, I want to sell an app and give an app-based loan to or to a Hari in a field. That's not going to happen today. Maybe a rollover, yes, not an outright loan just yet. So I think in this space, I think the bank space is already, in my view, kind of saturated in KLI and other big cities, and great products are being offered by commercial banks. But I think a lot of research needs to be done where the rubber meets the road to understand the needs and the type of the client in order to tailor the products to them. That's where we'll start, I think.
I think there is a myth that as long as this RT system is working, probably true financial inclusion and inclusion of people, of the farmers into the formal segment would not be possible. I would rather like to differ with this statement, although this is the common understanding. So what I believe that we need to come up with ideas and thoughts where we can supplement that system and avoid exploitation of the farmers. So Bank of Punjab being at the forefront in developing agriculture, SME, housing markets and segment, especially with regard to the financing options, we have done a lot of work in this. So I would particularly like to refer to electronic warehouse receipt financing, which actually allows the farmer to, without any collateral, they just need to bring their produce to the certified godown, so certified warehouse, which is managed by a collateral management company. And the whole system is then digitally linked with the bank. So whosoever is the partnering bank would actually allow financing to the farmer against that warehouse receipt. We call it warehouse receipt financing. So what happens is, earlier this farmer was forced to sell its produce to the RT at rates which were not actually viable, and that would not bring any good to the farmer. But now what is happening, the baby steps have been taken, almost the entire banking industry has been taken on board, but all that happened once Bank of Punjab has successfully completed pilots and ensured that this system is workable and this can deliver the results. So a lot of work has taken place. Now we are offering electronic warehouse receipt financing, and in a way that also helps support government agenda to avoid food wastage, which is like one of the main issues of our agriculture segment. So this is very important that every bank, if they actually start participating in this, and there is awareness among the farmers, which central bank is very keen to make it happen, and they're working day and night with the banks. So I believe this is going to be a major breakthrough.
By having two different licenses, and we are the only company in Pakistan who are having two different licenses. One is the TPSP and the PSOPSP, which one belongs to the banking side and one belongs to the telecom industry side. So by marrying these two licenses, the first time in the Pakistan and the Asia, we have implemented a many-to-many model, a part of one-to-one model. So let's take an example that ideally a Jazz Cash customer usually open up an account through only a Jazz SIM. There are only one telecom operator. But if a customer having a different that SIM and open a bank account in a different bank, what they will do? So this is something, the silos is actually not moving Pakistan into the real financial inclusion side. This is one of the biggest factors. So we have implemented a many-to-many solution where any account, any SIM holder in Pakistan can dial a code, a short code, without having an internet, without having a smartphone, by using a USSD technology, and open up a bank account in any of the bank which is right now available, and these are really We have right now 16 banks available on our menu, which is covering 92% of the banking space in Pakistan. So this is the biggest achievement right now we have made. But let me tell you why USSD. I really appreciate like what Zafar said, what Kabeer said, what Shah said, that what they are doing for the masses and the technology to be implemented in Pakistan, and especially for the underserved populations. But right now in Pakistan, there is a 192 million subscribers of telecom industry, and out of which 41% are using smartphone and 59% are using feature phone. So feature phone means there is no mobile application, there is no internet. And they are the real masses who need to be tapped and bring into the financial inclusion ambit. And that ambit can only be right now being achieved, not into the silos, but having a many-to-many implementation model. And that model is being implemented by VRG successfully. We have been mandated by the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, World Bank, and also the Ministry of Finance to implement a scheme called Asan Mobile Account Scheme. Asan means easy mobile account scheme. And by virtue of this, any person in Pakistan having a national identity number issued to them by using the SIM can dial a short code, and just inputting 3 inputs, they can open a bank account in a real-time manner. We usually say within a minute, but it's a real-time manner, without going to a bank, without going through from any hefty documentation. They can open a bank account on a real-time basis. So what Kabeer is investing on, on setting up offices in villages and giving tabs, that can also be replaced by using a good awareness to the people, so that people can directly open up their bank account by themselves, by sitting at their homes. So this platform is actually being, can be used in any, like financing to the farmers. Just educate the farmers and say, open your bank account on a real-time basis, place a real-time request, and maybe we can give you the instant loan right away, just by digitizing certain processes at the back end. So this can be done from this platform. So Ali, to answer your question, at this stage, by having this model implemented in Pakistan, we have achieved to open a new bank accounts, 4 million new bank accounts in just 14 months. So this is something which we have achieved, and these are the new bank accounts which we have achieved. So, and the biggest part is, like, we have processed nearly 32 billion rupees financial transactions. But this is a big achievement. Thank you very much. But the real big achievement is, in Pakistan, we have the top gurus available, the top banks available. So they have the data. So 8% to 18% bank accounts belongs to women. And that's a maximum number 18 at Kabeer, if I make it correctly said. In 4 million bank accounts, as we speak, 32% of the bank accounts belongs to the women. So this is something which we have achieved, and also empowering women to open the bank accounts and transact digitally from their feature phone. So this is something which is right now implemented, it is live. But not only this, we have been asked by now the central bank to work on something new by extending services on this platform. And this platform, you can not only open a bank account, you can also transact, you can also make fund transfer, you can pay utility bill payments, you can check your balances. And now what we are extending we are extending the new services, which is called shared services. So what Zafar, Masud and Kabeer are saying, that they are actually sharing their services to giving a customer a centricity model. This is right now available on this platform. So what we are doing is, all the 13 bank services are going to be integrated on a single platform. So one unique service which UBL have, and I want to quote it, that the railway ticketing service which UBL have, I want to give that service from that platform to all the 14 banks which are available without integrating to that pillar, and to say, use this service. So this is going to be a unified services platform, first time being introduced in a many-to-many model. On the other hand, we are also addressing a very important challenge and a very important pain point of the industry, and that is agent banking. At this stage, agents belong to a certain bank and cater only that bank's customer. So that also gives, a denial of services to most of the people. And also they have to go, a long way to get the agent banking on, because in the remote area, there is no bricks and mortars available.
Salman, I'll just come back to the agent banking, because I have a question for you about that.
Please.
But let's talk a little bit about Rast. State
Right.
Bank's immediate money payment system, and when State Bank basically announced Rast, a lot of existing players freaked out, saying that we're going to lose a lot of business, there's going to be no revenue. But then eventually it turned into a very collaborative model when the State Bank is giving a lot of room to existing players. New financial institutions are also coming in. Where do you see Rast and Asan mobile account cross lines with each other?
Right. Ali, this is a very important question because this is the understanding you have to understand that Rast is being made to serve people and to have more digital transactions going on, and also to serve the financial ambit, and also the real-time settlement to serve the bank for the liquidity issues, to address the liquidity issues. So liquidity issues, good, it is being done. Real-time payments and a digital free payments, done, thank you very much. But what about the financial inclusion that is still people like you, me, they are right now the users of Rast. But what about those people who are still living in the masses, like they're there, they don't have a mobile application, they don't have a smartphone.
And these were basically the people for which Rast was developed in the first place.
Exactly. And they don't even have a bank account. Unless and until they have a bank account, how they can use the Rast services to get benefit out of it. So that is the point that we as a VRG is collaborating with State Bank of Pakistan to give them the channel access so that the people can directly not only open bank account but get the Rast ID created on the same platform and used all the benefits of Rast which industry is enjoying but is actually being meant for those people. So this is the biggest thing which we are right now doing. And let me tell you, Ali, the last thing which I want to update of this forum, that this Asan mobile account scheme has been presented, the concept paper has been presented to World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum last week have invited VRG and the Pathfinder Group to present the Asan mobile account scheme in front of the 70 plus countries representative. And we have presented this thing on the platform of Pakistan. And it has been very much appreciated, and we have getting lots of calls and lots of messages from the neighboring other countries who are actually want this sort of solution. So this is something which we have achieved.
You were asking about agents, and we deal with agents also through Omni Network. Think about it. आपके पास एक shelf space है, and what you are doing is you're giving them more products. वो shelf space पड़ी हुई है. उसका real estate cost उसको लग रहा है.
Yes.
There's real estate cost is being imposed on him or her.
Yeah.
Now what you are allowing them to do is put more products on it. So what it's going to do is make the agent able to sell more products. The people's products he or she is selling the cost of processing that will come down. So banks, it's a win-win for the agent, for the banks, and for the person who's providing the product. So I think there should be no doubt in anybody's mind that there was going to be a blockage or anything. I think it will be all encouraged because we all want, and I think this will become a universal shelf space. So go to a supermarket, you'll have all these products, just bank.
There are instances, as you know, of certain frauds there, and the information security and the robustness of the connectivity with the agent is the key. We have also been a victim of it, and we need to make sure that there are no compromises on the way.
When we talk about agents, I think it is only fair to talk about exclusivity here. Now, where the branchless banking players have had a bottleneck over the last 14 years is that when I claim I've got 45,000, the other two players are also present on the same location. So the agent obviously is driven by the incentive, right? Because this is not an exclusive branch or an exclusive app. It's free for all. So whoever is paying the highest amount of incentive on that particular day, and that player will be the largest player. Now, P&L is another discussion. We'll talk about some other time. And sustainability of this business also. But I think that has to be kept in mind when we talk about using the agent network. And this is primarily the reason why the central bank has had a push to move away from over-the-counter towards wallet-based transactions.
The top technology players are called the Edison Alliance, named after Thomas Edison. And the first thing they did was to include us as one of the 65 players in the world in the Edison Alliance. The second thing which, I think is not very understood is that if you have a new technology and that technology is going out to the world, they call it the lighthouse countries. That country is giving us a lighthouse country. So the first set of lighthouse countries has been approved by them, but Pakistan is going to be put on the second set as a lighthouse country because of the switch, VRG switch. This is a huge, as a lighthouse country. The third thing I do like to mention here, which I was told by my son not to use the word, and I used to call it a poor man's debit card. The poor man will never get MasterCard or Visa or whatever to give him this thing. The poor man, this thing. So the telephone, and the mandate that I gave to Ali many years ago was, I want your man to be able to go to a rediwala and buy his fruit on his mobile. And that is the mandate they achieved. The rediwala can have his mobile account written there, right? And with that mobile account, this man can give this thing. And if I'm not mistaken, even if the guy does not have money in his account, you would give an instant credit because the credit have to be repaid, right? So you will have, because there are limits to it. So we call it now a deprived person's debit card. But the fact is, that is the game changer for the poor people of Pakistan, for the tribe. That the man, first time, he has real financial access, not, what we had. So and it's a fact of life today. We have done it. We have, as you see, we have, and I would like Salman to each of the presidents to send that ticker in live. You will see the ticker. You have it, but the live ticker tells you every 3 minutes how many accounts, how many transactions, how many this thing, etc. And the data analytics that we are taking out from it is, I don't even talk about it.
That is the game changer.
Sir, we haven't talked about this right now.
And just think about it. From 18% women having bank accounts to 32% women having bank accounts and spending money from that mobile. So I thought I'd just interject a little bit. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Ikram Sehgal Saab and team and everyone who organized this panel and did all the efforts and invited me as well. You have asked a very good question, and obviously, as you know, that we are doing all of the information security, and it just happens, coincidence, that UBL or UBank or Pathfinder or VRG or I say Bank of Punjab happens to be our client in information security. So one thing before I answer your question, I would like to say that previously it was said there were two realities in life. One was taxes and the other was debt. Now there are three realities in life. And the third one is very important one, and that's compliance. And financial sector, banking sector know pretty well that if you're not compliant, you're not compliant. And State Bank or any central bank will be after you and you'll be doing lots of major things. Similarly, this change in technology and revolution in technology and digital banking and open banking, all of those words which we're using, and obviously we are trying to use them in this environment, which is very right place, Pakistan being 220 million people. It is very important for us to understand that not only that there is a need for compliance, whether it's from MasterCard and Visa or whether it's from central bank, there is a responsibility for all business to make sure that their clients are secure. And I think this is where I have seen a lot of awareness over a period of 5 years. I would say that we are in the industry for the last 20 years. But from 2016 onwards, we have seen the big change. And the big change was not only because of the compliance, but also from the, like you said, that there were some attacks and there were more and more awareness. And it seems like that cybersecurity is required to run the business. It's a part of the business. Previously, I remember that when you go and talk to anyone that, guys, you need to do security, and say, why? Oh, you can be hacked. Oh, we're not hacked yet, so don't worry about it. Now the reality is there are only two types of companies in the world. One is already hacked, and the second will be hacked. Done. There is nothing else. So better prepared we are, better use we have of our assets. And this digital banking which we're talking about, your real assets are the customer data. Now, whether you name it with the name of privacy, whether if you are in Europe, then you are talking of GDPR and all of the regulations in the world. But in Pakistan, we are a little behind, but still, it is your data. It is very important. And as long as the financial inclusion will start, then it becomes more complicated, more complex, because now you're combining the personal data with the financial data. And you are providing this data, providing this facility to those people who are very novice. So it is responsibility for the banks, and I've seen that there is social responsibility banks are doing. They are sending SMS and they are doing, that don't share this information, and so on. So what we have done so far in the industry, that we have created awareness sessions. We are working with the banks for their compliance as well as for their individual banking security and their infrastructure security and so on. In addition, there are continuous programs, so it should be continuously improved. It is not possible that if you are compliant today or some security controls, implemented some security controls today, then it will be forever. It needs to be revisited every time. So I think to answer your question, there is huge progress in Pakistan, a lot of awareness, and it is taken very, very seriously because everyone understands that the booming fintech sector is really nothing. It will collapse very quickly if there are one attack or there is one incident where the people are not comfortable. It's all the confidence. It's all the share price. And the confidence, and this all comes at if there's a headline, you don't never want to be the headline in a newspaper or media. So I think this is why there is a lot of improvement, and I'm very glad to see that all of the banks are taking it very seriously, including central bank, and they're making sure that they are doing the right thing and they are protecting the vulnerables, which are our people, and they are opening the accounts and putting their money in.
Talking about local players, I'd like to move to Mr. Muzzaffar Hayat. There have been a lot of work in Pakistan as far as local manufacturing is concerned, local development, indigenously built, developing technology. And your company has been involved in the local manufacturing of mobile phones. We've been in a situation where we said that we spend billions of dollars every year importing mobile phones from abroad, and your company is the one who set up manufacturing within Pakistan for that. So I'd actually like if you could shed some light on it for us to let us know what you're doing and what role are you playing over here.
First of all, I would like to Mr. Ikram Sehgal and Pathfinder Group to give us an opportunity to be here and to speak on this forum and to explain how we can help in this financial inclusion. So, being an Airlink communication, we are the only company in Pakistan who are the manufacturers, distributors and retailers of mobile phone. And what technology is doing. Today, all of my friends, Mr. Zafar, Masud, Shazad, Dada and all other friends, they all spoke about the technology, and they all spoke about that how they can use this mobile phone. But nobody's thought of mobile phone, what it is doing actually in this financial inclusion, opening up bank accounts. Mobile phone is playing a vital role in opening up bank accounts. For example, if today, no matter how many products you launch in the market, but how you go to the end customer. So Airlink is the one which is providing this role, which is doing this duty. And over a decade, we are serving the nation with the smartphones, with 3G, 4G mobile phones. And what I believe, these 3G, 4G phones, in last 2 years, the government has done a new system, device identification and registration and blocking system. And I want to tell you that Pakistan is a country, one of the 3 countries in the world, in which this system has been implemented. And that is very good for the security of the banking accounts and all those. What this system does, it actually now every mobile phone is registered with the name of the person, not only the same. So you have 2 checks. One is the same, second is the cell phone itself, and third is the NADRA data. So some of the colleagues over here, they said that if to open an account, they are working with the PTA, they are working with the government of Pakistan. So I just want to tell you that the phones we are producing in Pakistan, they are as cheap as $30, and they are smartphones. You can have a video call, you can have a thumb impression over there, so you can, in case of female, you have a trouble, You can use those phones, and just with the thumb impression, with the face recognition and syncing with Nadra, you can check all what is happening.
Very nice.
So,
speaking about social impact, we have Imad. Imad is a very seasoned professional, with a background from Tamir Bank, mobile financial services. Has had international exposure, and now he's basically into e-commerce. Imad, I would actually like if you could tell us about how you are revolutionizing payment in e-commerce with your venture.
Thank you very much. So we have been hearing a lot about financial inclusion, account opening, but in real essence, if you see the numbers and if you see the real efficacy of these all accounts that have been opened, you will find out that the efficacy has been very low. The real efficacy of for example, mobile wallet has been around 16 to 20%. So there is a huge chunk of accounts that have been opened, but they have become dormant or churned out because of inactivity. And there are a couple of reasons to it. And yes, we may have difference in opinion in terms of identifying those reasons. But based on my experience, and me and Kabeer share a long history with Telenor and with EasyPaisa, when you go and ask someone, so in Pakistan, the economy, sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. So in Pakistan, the economy is such that people don't have a lot of disposable income. So you cannot expect someone to try out something for fun or just out of curiosity. So they need a genuine reason why they should use a mobile wallet, for example. So when we were selling, we go out and say to people that please open a mobile account. He said, fine, why? Then we say that you can do bill payments. He said, no, my father do it, I don't do it. Okay, you can do a remittance. No, I don't do a remittance. Okay, now the pitch is failed. We don't have anything else to pitch to them. So the reason is that we are missing that use case that integrate with common person's day-to-day life. Something that integrates well, something that where he can use account on daily basis. And that something is what Ikram Sahab just mentioned about, like going to a cart and buying fruit out of that cart. This is what we plan to do, and we plan to do it in a different way, slightly different way, slightly improvised way, not through the way lots of other startups are doing. So we plan to tap in through B2C space, the consumer and retail space. That is our entry point. And then through that, we'll leverage onto the larger high value, low volume space of B2B. So what we are doing is that we are introducing a hyper local community shopping experience, where we, instead of like taking a shout for the whole city, we are creating small hotspots in the whole city. And then we are connecting community in that hotspot. So the community includes MSMEs, retailers, community includes consumers there, community includes riders. So we'll hail retailers from that community, we'll identify riders from that same community, and then we'll pitch it to the consumers within that. And the idea is that we want to empower communities and generate economic and business activities within communities. And the other idea is that, which is slightly disruptive from the traditional model that we see, we will not do cash on delivery. So that is the primary shout that we'll take. Our services will primarily be digital payments based, and more specifically, it will be digital wallet based payments. And this is where we will align with the AMA initiative, and we'll sell it as a value proposition for customer to onboard as an AMA account holder and use these services for that purpose. So this is how we plan to implement this, and there are a lot of different offshoots that will that can be generated through this. When you are utilizing payment economy, you are basically creating a lot of other use cases like credit scoring, which is something that serves as a basis for nano loans and these type of loans. Right now, the efficacy of the credit score that is being generated is not very high, because either we have ECIB that taps into like those large consumers which are not so much in need of microtransactions, or we have there is an initiative called MFCIB, which is not very well integrated. It's the data is not very well consolidated. So what we will be doing is that by documenting the last mile, we'll be empowering banks to offer different sort of low token or low size digital loans as well. So this is some of the fundamentals that we are working on, and obviously we are leveraging heavily as part of Pathfinder family through AMA initiative, through yourself, using our own in-house inbuilt solutions that will connect, gel them together, and then we'll offer it as a value proposition to the market. That we are focusing on alongside is the customer experience. That is something that you'll find missing from some of the competitors in the market, some big names that are already providing these B2C services. So that is part of our mantra in terms of providing superior customer experience, whether it's the last mile delivery, whether it's the buyer protection shout. So as part of Futafut services, what we'll also offer is that we'll take a shout that is close to escrow, but not necessarily escrow. But we'll say that whatever you will experience through us, we will own it end to end. So any issue that you'll face, we'll resolve it for you. Instead of like letting you go around, like a headless chicken and like trying to resolve your own issues. So this is just, just of what Futafut is all about and how we plan to digitalize and get that digital economy wheel rolling at the last mile.
Thank you so much for your time. It was very thought-provoking, very insightful, and we learned a lot from you guys today. And there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of development that we see in the Pakistani banking space as far as financial banking and digital banking is concerned. And we would like, in the future that we see more progress happening in this area. So thank you for your time. And I'd like to, with those remarks, I'd like to close the panel for today.